Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So there's clearly been some horrible mistake. Somehow or other, I was asked to speak something on this morning. It's a very special morning of Krishna's appearance day. So yeah, I apologize in advance. And so yeah, I was thinking to read something from Krishna book. That's basically what I've been asked to do, and certainly can't think of anything on my own to say any special realizations. Well, there are a couple of things I was wanting to share with you first before reading. I was just going to read this one chapter, and maybe if there's time permitting, maybe something else. But, just one short chapter. So yeah, I was thinking one small realization. I can't take full credit for, but anyway, I was thinking, yes, it's Krishna's appearance day, but actually Krishna appears every day. At least those fortunate enough living on the Dham, of course, in the form of his deities every morning. In fact, 6 times a day he's appearing in front of us. And what to speak of, Krishna has appeared in this age so mercifully as his holy names. So actually, Krishna should be appearing in front of us or on our tongues, 24 hours a day, according to Lord Chaitanya. So yeah, if you're ever getting a little wistful, or if you're thinking, oh man, I can't wait until Janmastami. Well, actually, just go ahead and stick your hand in that bead bag, and Krishna will be appearing right in front of you, no problem. So, and on that note, I'm sure everyone's heard this before. This is a pretty classic quote from Srila Rupa Goswami, and I will spare you all the Sanskrit, or is it Bengali? But the translation is, I do not know how much nectar the 2 syllables of Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy names dance in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. So in the purport where Prabhupada mentions this, he also says that, so this verse is included in the Vidagda Madhava, a 7-act play written by Srila Rupa Goswami, describing the pastimes of Sri Krishna and Radha. So yeah. Has anyone seen that play? That'd be a good play. So yeah, that's a pretty. Of course, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't have that taste. I have not developed that taste. And I can share one quick pastime of with my guru. When I was at the Honolulu temple, he traveled through Honolulu briefly, and he gave a class, and in the class he mentioned, I think it was in relation to this specific quote, and he said that Krishna is the supreme or ultimate, I forget, supreme or ultimate, he said the ultimate gulab jamun. And he said it's so sweet, it's the ultimate gulab jamun. And I really like that. And so at the question and answer part, I asked him, I said, Maharaj, you said this is the Krishna's supreme gulab jamun, but how does one actually develop that taste? And I was about to elaborate my question a little more, he just cut me off immediately. He says, put it in your mouth, Prabhu. And so we may not have that taste. We may not be able to feel like, oh man, I want millions of mouths to be chanting this. And maybe thinking, man, I want millions of beds to go take millions of naps right now. But the more we chant, the more we will become purified, and we'll actually, the material coverings of our senses will melt away, and then we'll actually be like, oh wow, yeah, this has been awesome this whole time. I didn't even know it. So there was one thing from my guru, who, of course, I'm not yet initiated. I'm aspiring, but His Grace Sankarshan Dasarikari, he synthesized his daily thought for the day. So I'll just share this with you, this short paragraph. He says, today we are unlimitedly blessed because today is the most auspicious Janmastami day, the day the Lord Sri Krishna appeared in this world to save us from our suffering condition, to rescue us by taking us back to our original home in the spiritual world. Of course, He does not force us to come back. He's not going to drag us back to home, back to Godhead, as prisoners. It is up to us to realize for our own benefit and happiness the necessity of returning to our original home, not to remain perpetually suffering birth, death, old age, and disease, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Such realization can be solidified if one accepts a bona fide spiritual master and dedicates his life to be fully obedient to his spiritual master. This is what Krishna instructs us to do in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 34. So, on that note, without further ado, I thought I would read from chapter 15 of the Krishna book, which is the killing of Danikasura. Of course, this is just my first year. I guess I've been here at Talavana for a year and a half. So I'm sure those of you who have been here for much longer have heard the story over and over again as it takes place in the Talavana forest. But, why not read it again? I'm not so familiar with it, but at least it'll be entertaining and new to me. So, but yeah, it's of course never fresh. We all know this. So, killing of Danikasura, chapter 15. In this way, Sri Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram, passed the childhood age, known as Komara, and stepped into the age of Poganda, from the 6th year up to the 10th. At that time, all the cowherd men conferred and agreed to give those boys who had passed their 5th year charge of the cows in the pasturing ground. Given charge of the cows, Krishna and Balaram traversed Vrindavan, purifying the land with their lotus footprints. Accompanied by the cowherd boys and Balaram, Krishna brought forth the cows and played on his flute as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was full of flowers, vegetables, and pasturing grass. The Vrindavan forest was as sanctified as the clear mind of a devotee and was full of bees, flowers, and fruits. There were chirping birds and clear water lakes with waters that could relieve one of all fatigue. Sweet-smelling breezes blew always, refreshing the mind and body. Krishna, with his friends and Balaram, entered the forest and, seeing the favorable situation, desired to enjoy the atmosphere to the fullest extent. Krishna saw all the trees overloaded with fruits and fresh twigs, bending down to touch the ground as if welcoming him by touching his lotus feet. He was very much pleased by the behavior of the trees, fruits, and flowers, and began to smile, realizing their desires. Krishna then spoke to his elder brother Balaram as follows: "My dear brother, you are superior to all of us, and your lotus feet are worshipped by the demigods. Just see how these trees, full with fruits and flowers, have bent down to worship your lotus feet. It appears that they are trying to get out of the darkness that has obliged them to accept the form of trees. Actually, the trees are born in the land of Vrindavan. The trees born in the land of Vrindavan are not ordinary living entities. Having held the impersonal point of view in their past lives, they have been put into this stationary condition of life. But now they have the opportunity of seeing you in Vrindavan, and they are praying for further advancement in spiritual life through your personal association. Generally, living entities in the mode of darkness obtain the bodies of trees. The impersonalist philosophers are in that darkness, but they eradicate it by taking full advantage of your presence. I think the drones that are buzzing all around you must have been your devotees in their past lives. They cannot leave your company because no one can be a better, more affectionate master than you. You are the supreme and original personality of Godhead, and the drones are just trying to spread your glories by chanting at every moment. I think some of them must be great sages, devotees of your lordship, and they are disguising themselves in the form of drones because they are unable to give up your company, even for a moment. My dear brother, you are the supreme worshipable Godhead. Just see how the peacocks are dancing before you in great ecstasy. The deer, whose behavior is just like that, the gopis are welcoming you with the same affection. And the cuckoos, who are residing in the forest, are welcoming you with their joyful, sweet cries, because they consider that your appearance in their home is so auspicious. Even though they are trees and animals, these residents of Vrindavan are glorifying you. They are prepared to welcome you to the best of their ability, as is the practice of great souls in receiving another great soul at home. As for the land, it is so pious and fortunate, because the footprints of your lotus feet are marking its body. It is quite natural for these Vrindavan inhabitants to thus receive a great personality like you. The herbs, creepers, and plants are also so fortunate to touch your lotus feet. And by your touching the twigs with your fingernails, these small plants are also made glorious. As for the hills and the rivers, they too are now glorious, because you are glancing at them. Above all, the damsels of Braja, the gopis, are the most glorious, because you embrace them with your strong arms, being attracted by their beauty. In this way, Lord Krishna and Balaram began to enjoy the residents of Vrindavan to their full satisfaction, as they herded the calves and cows on the bank of the Yamuna. In some places, Krishna and Balaram were accompanied by their friends. The boys were singing, imitating the humming sound of the drones, and accompanying Krishna and Balaram, who were garlanded with forest flowers. While walking, the boys sometimes imitated the quacking sound of the swans in the lakes. Or when they saw the peacocks dancing, they imitated them before Krishna. Krishna also moved his neck, imitating the dancing and making his friends laugh. The cows taken care of by Krishna had many different names, and Krishna would call them with love. After hearing Krishna calling, the cows would immediately respond by mooing, and the boys would enjoy this exchange to their heart's content. They would all imitate the sound vibrations made by the different kinds of birds, especially the chakoras, peacocks, cuckoos, and bharadvajas. Sometimes, when they would see the weaker animals fleeing out of fear of the sounds of tigers and lions, the boys, along with Krishna and Balaram, would imitate the animals and run away with them. When they felt some fatigue, they would sit down, and Balaram would put his head on the lap of one of the boys just to take rest. And Krishna would immediately come and begin massaging the legs of Balaram. And sometimes, Krishna would take a palm fan and fan the body of Balaram, causing a pleasing breeze to relieve him of his fatigue. Other boys would sometimes dance or sing while Balaram took rest, and sometimes they would wrestle amongst themselves or jump. When the boys were thus engaged, Krishna would immediately join them, and catching their hands, he would enjoy their company and laugh and praise their activities. When Krishna would feel tired and fatigued, he would sometimes take shelter of the root of a big tree or the lap of a cowherd boy and lie down. When he would lie down with a boy or a root as his pillow, some of the boys would come and massage his legs, and some would fan his body with a fan made from leaves. Some of the more talented boys would sing in very sweet voices to please him. Thus, very soon, his fatigue would go away. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whose legs are tended by the goddess of fortune, shared himself with the cowherd boys as one of them, expanding his internal potency to appear exactly like a village boy. But despite his appearing just like a village boy, there were occasions when he proved himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes men pose themselves as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and cheat innocent people. But they can only cheat. They cannot exhibit the potency of God. While Krishna was thus engaged in his transcendental pastimes, exhibiting his internal potency in the company of the supermost fortunate cowherd boys, there occurred another chance for him to exhibit the superhuman powers of Godhead. His most intimate friends, Sridhama, Subala, and Stoka Krishna, addressed Krishna and Balaram with great love and affection thus: "Dear Balaram, you are very powerful. Your arms are very strong. Dear Krishna, you are very expert in killing all kinds of disturbing demons. Will you kindly note that just near this place there is a big forest of the name Talavana. This forest is full of palm trees, and all the trees are filled with fruits. Some have fallen down, and some are very ripe, even in the trees. It is a very nice place, but because of a great demon, Dhenukasura, it is very difficult to go there. No one can reach the trees to collect the fruits. Dear Krishna and Balaram, this demon is present there in the form of an ass, and he is surrounded by similar demon friends who have assumed the same shape. All of them are very strong, so it is very difficult to approach this place. Dear brothers, you are the only persons who can kill such demons. Other than you, no one can go there for fear of being killed. Not even animals go there, and no birds are living there. They have all left. One can only appreciate the sweet aroma that is coming from that place. It appears that up until now, no one has tasted the sweet fruits there, either on the trees or on the ground. Dear Krishna, to tell you frankly, we are very attracted by the sweet aroma. Dear Balaram, if you like, let us all go there and enjoy these fruits. The aroma of the fruits is now spread everywhere. Don't you smell it from here?" When Balaram and Krishna were thus petitioned by their intimate friends, they were inclined to please them, and with smiling faces they proceeded toward the forest, surrounded by all their friends. Immediately upon entering the Talavana, Balaram began to yank the trees with his arms, exhibiting the strength of an elephant. Because of this jerking, all the ripe fruits fell down to the ground. Upon hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the demon, Dhenukasura, who was living there in the form of an ass, approached with great force, shaking the whole field so that all the trees moved as if there were an earthquake. The demon appeared before Balaram and kicked his chest with his hind legs. At first, Balaram did not say anything, but with great anger the demon kicked him again, more vehemently. This time, Balaram immediately caught hold of the legs of the ass with one hand, and, wheeling him around, threw him into the treetops. While he was being wheeled around by Balaram, the demon lost his life. Balaram threw the demon into the biggest palm tree about, and the demon's body was so heavy that the palm tree fell upon other trees, and several fell down. It appeared as if a great hurricane was passing through the forest, and all the trees were falling down, one after the other. This exhibition of extraordinary strength is not astonishing, because Balaram is the personality of Godhead, known as Ananta Sheshanaga, who is holding all the planets on the hoods of his millions of heads. He maintains the whole cosmic manifestation exactly as horizontal and vertical threads hold the weaving of a cloth. After the demon had been thrown into the trees, all the friends and associates of Dhenukasura immediately assembled and attacked Balaram and Krishna with great force. They were determined to retaliate and avenge the death of their friend. But Krishna and Balaram caught each of these asses by the hind legs, and exactly in the same way wheeled them around. Thus they killed all of them and threw them into the palm trees. Because of the dead bodies of the asses, there was a panoramic scene. It appeared as if clouds of various colors were assembled in the trees. Hearing of this great incident, the demigods from the higher planets showered flowers on Krishna and Balaram and beat their drums and offered devotional prayers. A few days after the killing of Dhenukasura, people began to come into the Talavana forest to collect the fruits. and animals began to return without fear to feed on nice grasses growing there. Just by chanting or hearing these transcendental activities and pastimes of the brothers Krishna and Balaram, one can amass pious activities. When Krishna and Balaram entered the village of Vrindavan along with their friends, they played their flutes, and the boys praised their uncommon activities in the forest. Their faces were decorated with tilak and smeared with the dust raised by the cows, and Krishna's head was decorated with a peacock feather. Both he and Balaram played their flutes, and the young gopis were joyous to see Krishna returning home. All the gopis in Vrindavan remained very morose on account of Krishna's absence. All day they were thinking of Krishna in the forest, or of him herding cows in the pasture. When they saw Krishna returning, all their anxieties were immediately relieved, and they began to look at his face the way drones hover over the honey of the lotus flower. When Krishna entered the village, the young gopis smiled and laughed. Krishna, while playing the flute, enjoyed the beautiful smiling faces of the gopis. Then Krishna and Balaram were immediately received by their affectionate mothers, Yashoda and Rohini, who, according to the time's demands, began to fulfill the desires of their affectionate sons. Simultaneously, the mothers rendered service and bestowed benediction upon their transcendental sons. They took care of their children by bathing them and dressing them very nicely. Krishna was dressed in yellowish garments, and Balaram was dressed in bluish garments. And they were given all sorts of ornaments and flower garlands. Being relieved of the fatigue of their day's work in the pasturing ground, they looked refreshed and very beautiful. They were given palatable dishes by their mothers, and they pleasantly ate everything. After eating, they were seated nicely on clean bedding, and the mothers began to sing various songs of their activities. As soon as they lay down on the bedding, they very quickly fell fast asleep. In this way, Krishna and Balaram used to enjoy Vrindavan life as cowherd boys. Sometimes Krishna used to go with his boyfriends and Balaram, and sometimes he used to go alone with his friends to the bank of the Yamuna and tend the cows. Gradually the summer season arrived, and one day, while in the field, the boys and cows became very thirsty and began to drink the water of the Yamuna. The river, however, had been made poisonous by the venom of a great serpent known as Kaliya. Because the water was so poisonous, the boys and cows became visibly affected immediately after drinking. They suddenly fell down on the ground, apparently dead. And then Krishna, who is the life of all that lives, simply cast his merciful glance over them, and all the boys and cows regained consciousness and began to look at one another with great astonishment. They could understand that by drinking the water of the Yamuna they had died, and the merciful glance of Krishna had restored their lives. Thus they appreciated the mystic power of Krishna, who is known as Yogeshwara, the master of all mystic yogis. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 15th chapter of Krishna, the killing of Ganasura. So yeah, very nice.
It was so nice when I was talking about the trees getting knocked, it was like the trees being knocked down by the hurricane. We could relate to that.
Yeah.
Katrina, like just to go from where we live to the temple, there were, I don't know, 20 trees. Just, you couldn't even, there's no way you could cross there until the boys got out with chainsaws and made a cut a path. So devastated.
Giant. Well, I mean, anyways, fascinating. The dog, so giant. Yeah, maybe there's some other comments or.
What's the chapter after that chapter? Kaliya serpent.
Subduing the Kaliya serpent.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very nice stuff, and yeah, nice glorification of Krishna and his devotees. Yeah, I mean it's already a little after 8:30, so I guess we could stop here. Anything else? Okay. Well, Krishna ki jai, Janmastami ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
Sure.